All right, so we're going to be talking today a little bit about mistakes that beginners make in the gym, at least things I see happening very common that people who are in their first like 6 to 12 months might be more likely to make. Now, a lot of things that you guys are going to hear in this video are not necessarily awful. They're not going to like make or break your training at like an extreme level, but might be good to fix now while you're here instead of having to fix them down the line. So the first thing that comes to my mind that's a very obvious one is beginners, people who are just starting in the gym, even beginner trainers will think that one size fits all. This is like a very common thing where, you know, you'll start training and you don't exactly understand that everybody is individual at an anatomical level to some extent, where people have certain quirks and certain like little habits they do and certain things that will change the way an exercise feels for them and how an exercise executes for them. So if you take something very simple like a tricep extension here, some people will find that when they flare out, like when they come all the way out here, it actually ends up being a lot more comfortable for them. For me, it's the opposite. It makes my elbow ache. So when I watch a video of someone doing a 45-degree, you know, flared out here, cross-body extension, never feels good. Never, ever feels good. Whereas if I do just a slightly more like a push-down variation where I'm just slightly more in, it's extremely comfortable. I can load it heavier. I feel much stronger, and the exercise gets executed a lot better, where the goal is, again, extending the elbow here. So that's what the tricep is doing. So I'm able to execute the movement a whole lot better. So if you watch the way I am about to do my set, you guys will see this is done individually for me, and someone could watch this who's, you know, who watched some videos on it or whatever and say, oh, you know, you're not doing your extension right. It's supposed to be an extension, not a push down. Well, again, if it hurts my elbow, then obviously I can't do it, right? So that's just a small thing to think about that a lot of people sort of miss, is that no, there's not always a one size fits all. Even if something might be technically worse, does not necessarily mean it is the worst option for you. So I'm gonna do a set here. We got 42 pounds with the Vulcan grip here, the extension, and here we go. Go for about 6 with 1 in the tank if I had to guess. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was pretty spot on actually. That was 6 with 1 in the tank, so that was pretty good. And again, I personally like to do this in a heavy rep range. I like to do it 4 to 6 rep range. If I get more stability, a little less lactic acid, that kind of like pump burning sensation, which is indicative of fatigue. I like to kind of avoid that when I can, especially at the beginning of a session. But again, a lot of people might do this and say, hey, if I do anything tricep related for 5 reps, it makes my elbow want to explode. Well then, don't do it, right? So there is an individual level of context that is important for all this kind of stuff. So we're gonna keep going and getting to some more mistakes that you guys might be making. All right, so another huge set of mistakes that beginners make is not repurposing things or innovating in some way. Now, this is a very, very, very common problem, and something I even fell into for a long period of time, which was going into a gym and you're so set in your machines and you're set in your ways that like if one small thing goes wrong, it's like, oh no, the whole workout's ruined. This is something very common that I think intermediate kind of lifters fall into, and something I did for a very long time as well, where, you know, I was so set in my routine, I'm like, we need to have the exact same conditions in order for the exact same hypertrophy to occur, and it's like, look, is there gonna be a 0.1% difference in you going to a different gym and using a different chest machine? Maybe, because you're not gonna be adapted to it or whatever, but that's just not that important. Like ultimately, when you're executing your lifts and you're, you know, training hard and you're doing everything right, you're gonna be growing. And, you know, understanding how to actually adapt your program, adapt your lifts, adapt your experience for maximum sustainability is really the more important thing. So, you know, if you have an hour to work out, can you go in and train in an hour just to get your lift in? I mean, that's a pretty important thing. And years ago, I would have said, oh, just go at 2 a.m. when you're done with everything you have to do and get your lift in then, or just skip it and do the lift tomorrow and then you can give it 100%. Whereas in reality, you really want to be training pretty frequently and staying consistent. The consistency thing is where people mostly fall off. I mean, even people with great physiques, even advanced level lifters, you know, try being consistent for 10 years. It's pretty hard. So, you know, for me at least nowadays, there's definitely a higher emphasis on sustainability and actually doing things right for a very long period of time. that is where most of my efforts are put towards. So if a machine's out of order, use another one. If a lying hamstring is taken, go use the seated hamstring, or vice versa. If the incline press, the Smith incline is taken, go use an incline machine. There are a bunch of different ways to skin a cat, right? There are a bunch of different ways to actually do what you're trying to. It really comes down to being creative and knowing how to make different machines, different gyms, different settings, knowing how to make them work. So got my incline machine here, gonna be going 3 plates and a 30. 3 plates and 30. I'm gonna try to get like 4 or 5 reps at 1 in the tank is the goal. That's probably where we'll land. This is a 10-pound reduction from last time. Last time I did 3 plates and 35. So now we're on 3 plates and 30, trying to squeeze out an extra rep, because last time I got 4 for 0 in the tank. So now I'm gonna try to get 4 with 1 in the tank, or 5 with 1 in the tank. And I also don't have a spot this time, so getting out of the bottom here is kind of gonna suck, but whatever. Here we go. I also moved the seat height slightly, so I'll live. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. Upper chest. Here we go. Okay. Whew. That was pretty awesome. That was 5. I know I had 1 in the tank at least, maybe 2, but probably not. That was 5 with 1 in the tank. That was really good. No pain, no discomfort. I'm gonna take my wrist strap off before my hand falls off from lack of circulation. But yeah, it's the idea. Did our 1 set of incline, now we're gonna do our 1 set of flat and keep going. So that's kind of obvious, I think, beginner mistake that probably would ruin, I'd say, 80 to 90% of people's programs if you actually dug through it, is not training with good stability. This is such an obvious one, yet it does get neglected an awful lot. Now, stability is not the be-all end-all, because there are certain situations in which it's not overly an option. And if you're doing, a dumbbell preacher curl, that might not be a scenario where stability is going to be the biggest priority for you, because you're doing a really good movement that aligns with you anatomically. The resistance profile is very good for the bicep, because it's really hard when the bicep is lengthened or stretched, where it has a lot of leverage to reduce force. So it is very good to do a dumbbell preacher curl, even though it might not be the most stable option in the whole world. But when you're doing stuff like a chest press, I mean, there are a lot of good chest presses out there. Ideally, there's no reason you can't find a good chest press or go to a gym that has a good chest press and use it pretty much permanently instead of dumbbells or barbells. I mean, there's just no real reason to. If you have a Smith machine, you really don't ever need to use a barbell. And it's something that, kind of does get swept under the rug, especially I find people over 30 tend to, for whatever reason, not always keep up with what the science says on stability. But being stable with your lift is really one of the most important things, because the more stability you have, the more of your brain, your nervous system is actually able to kind of put towards completing the movement, to actually completing the contraction. If you were doing something that's really unstable, like say I did this, but I did this standing up and I had no back pad and I was just chest pressing standing up, well then I'd have to kind of counterbalance the weight, and I would not be able to go nearly as heavy and exert as much force and get my chest to experience as much mechanical tension. So that is pretty much the crux of it. Someone in the comments will be like, "Oh Matt, what are you using all these big words for and showing off?" And it's like, come on dude, like, can you take your art form sort of seriously? I mean, if you want to train like a monkey, you can, but there's no reason to. There's really no reason to train stupid. It's not like we don't have info on this. It's worth digging into if you enjoy it. And I think most people watching this are probably here for that anyway. So I don't know what I'm preaching to the choir here. Most people watching this already kind of have the same vision on this that I do. But if you want to train and get 70 to 80% of the gains you could get, great. But I like to get the most amount of returns possible for my time in the gym. So I'm doing this chest press here. Really, really good machine. This Nautilus one's awesome. I'm at 3 plates here. It's funny, if I go back like a year ago, I actually was doing 3 plates as well, but not nearly with the same range of motion. So my ROM has increased dramatically. So because of that, the lift has gotten a lot harder over time. So this is 3 plates, the same 3 plates I was doing a year ago, just like an extra 2 inches of ROM. Pretty damn good. I'll take it. So here we go. We're going to focus on horizontal adduction, or pulling across the body. And here we go. Let's do our 1 last set of chest here. I have 2 sets of chest on this upper day. Remember guys, if you want to learn how to program, you guys can check out the ebook down below, the Split Building Blueprint. Teach you guys how to build your own splits, and it's only $9. Spent a month of my life on it. I really do think you guys will enjoy it. So anyways, here we go. Last set of chest. A little bit of an arch, a little bit. Okay. Whew. Whew. That was definitely 5 with about 0 in the tank, so that was pretty good. Hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you soon.